welcome back for part 2 of Brows 101, where we're actually going to go through the grooming of your brows. We talked a lot about tools in part 1, and now we're going to get right in there and start tweezing and shaping those brows and discussing brow shape. And just before we go any further, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and make sure that you hit that notification bell so you know exactly when the next videos are going to be landing here on YouTube. So let's get started. I am just going to bring the camera a little bit closer to where we need to be here. Make sure I've got my tweezers. For now, you just need tweezers, comb, or spoolie. And I've also got my trusty, there we go. I've also got my trusty magnification mirror because my eyesight's not that great, so having a magnification mirror beats wearing glasses to try and look in the mirror and do my brows. So the first step you want to do, okay, step 1 always, is you want to comb your brows, okay, and you want to comb them up. So we're just gonna comb them up here. And lighting is everything in this. I'm just gonna raise the camera just a little bit for you. There we go. So lighting is everything. Natural light is by far the best. So get out of your bathroom, go stand in front of a window. You will see all of the tiny, tiny little hairs that you are going to miss in your bathroom looking in the mirror. When you are under natural light or in front of natural light, you'll have much better results. Okay, so I'm just gonna go and just comb this up. All right, and yeah, my brows look pretty crazy when they're combed up. And right now, they do look very bushy for me because I can see every little hair that it's all under here because I haven't touched my brows for probably a week or two. Now we're gonna go in with tweezers, okay? But if you've never done this before, what you want to do is take that concealer pencil or whatever you have and draw yourself a guideline. Okay, you can use eyeliner if you really want to, but the trouble with eyeliner is that it's going to, if you're using a black or a brown, you might be covering some of the hair that needs to come up and you might not see it. So if you're using a concealer, I find that it's quite effective. So I'm just gonna draw right from here, okay, where they start, and I like to just kind of have, like, it's a pretty straight line, and this is where my arch is here. Okay, so I kind of want to go up to where the arch is, and then I'm going to follow it down, okay? So that's giving me a guideline to work with. So that way I know that everything under that needs to go for sure, and everything above that I need to be careful because it can be the difference of one hair that you pluck or don't pluck that will make the difference between having to fill your brows and having brows that are quite even, okay? So then, now that I've got my little guideline, okay, and I can see that quite well in person, I can just go and start tweezing. Now, you want to get at the root of the hair so that it hurts less. If you go from the end of the hair and you go doink, 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 no, you have to try and get as close to the root as you can and just a very quick pluck. The more you do this, the less it hurts over time. I mean, I've been grooming my brows since I was very young because that was part of my mom's very minimal makeup routine, was brushing her brows and grooming her brows. That was something that she did, and she always brushed her brows and shaped them every day. So here I'm already getting up to that line, and there's just a couple of hairs there. Now, after a while, you'll start noticing that you've got all of these little hairs. So yeah, tweezing can be kind of a messy job, but you're gonna have all of these little tiny, tiny hairs, and some of them are blonde for me, and some of them are like my actual brow color. But if you find that your brows are really, you can't grip them, either your tweezers are too old or there's too much stuff on them. So of course, I've started with clean hands, and I find that if you just kind of stick your pinky in between, it will actually get all of those little hairs off. I do have a cloth here as well as kind of a little drop cloth so that I can clear out the tweezer. And oh, this is just such beautiful light. It's perfect. It's not too bright. And I've got a couple that, you know, sometimes you have to go at it a couple of times before you actually get the hair, or go back the next day. If the hair is not standing up for you, instead of giving yourself a big red spot and digging in there with your tweezers, just leave it. One hair at a place is not going to be the end of the world, okay? Now, I haven't talked about the middle yet, and it's really important to talk about the middle, okay? Growing up in the 80s and 90s, the guideline was the outside of your nostril, and you go straight up, and that's where your brows are supposed to start. Now, if you have a look at that, there's a whole bunch of eyebrow that I have there that by that guideline, I would be plucking off. My friends, let me tell you, I look really funny with my brows spaced that far apart, okay? And the rule of thumb of, you know, it should be one width of your eye in between your brows. Also, don't follow that rule. That will start making you look like you're constantly surprised and you've had too much Botox, okay? This is a better rule to follow, or not a rule. They're all guidelines. I mean, hey, you could pluck all of your eyebrows off for all I care. They're your brows. I'm just trying to give you guys a really good guideline for how you can make your brows look nice and tidy without too much work, okay? The better rule of thumb to follow is if you want your nose to appear narrower, keep your brows growing a little bit closer together, okay? If you want your nose to look wider, pluck your eyebrows further apart. It's that simple. So if you have a really, really tiny little skinny nose and that you don't like that, you can go a little bit further and it will give your nose the appearance of being slightly wider on your face. I don't know why, but it works. So if you're trying to landmark or trying to decide how far to go, instead of using the outside of your nostril, you can kind of feel where the cartilage is at the bridge of your nose. Use that as a guideline. So now you can see that I am well within where the bridge of my nose is, okay? So I don't do much in the middle. I don't mind having a little bit of natural growth as long as it doesn't look like I have monobrow. So if it's just that downy little peach fuzz that you have, just leave it. Leave it. It doesn't have to be plucked clean, people. Your face naturally has a little bit of that downy fuzz on it. It just goes, so leave it. Unless you've got like big scabby black hairs growing in between your eyebrows, or you do have a monobrow, you really do not need to do much in the middle, okay? Dudes, totally different for you guys, okay? Most men do have to do some maintenance in the middle because they do end up growing a monobrow. I'm gonna say not most guys, a lot of guys, okay? Especially if you're particularly hairy, you probably have strong brows. Okay, so, but as you can see, I haven't done a whole lot, and you can see it's got a pretty good shape. I've also been tweezing this shape on my brows since I was probably 18 or 19. And yes, I've had really, really thin brows. I've had my brows further apart. You know, I've tried to get the tail to grow a little bit more. And for me, that's where I need the brow corrector or the brow filler is on the end, because I barely have any tail right here. So in pictures with a bright flash, it kind of looks like my eyebrows go to here and then there's nothing. So it's better if I know I'm being photographed to fill my brows just a little bit. Okay, so now I can go to the other side and I don't necessarily need to mark that out because I'm quite familiar with the shape of my brows. And I also actually have like this little beauty spot in my brows that I know that's sort of one of my landmarks on my face to know, okay, I don't want to go too far above that. Sometimes it's hidden in my brows and sometimes you can see it depending on how high I want that arch to be. But since we're kind of keeping it more of a straight line and I still have just a couple more little hairs to tweeze out here, Okay. So that's really, even though I haven't tweezed my brows for a couple of weeks, that's really all I need. Sorry. Okay, once you're done tweezing, because that can sort of disrupt where the hair was placed, I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to comb it. Okay, so I want to comb everything up because we're working underneath the brow. Okay, and then I can see a couple more just peeking through, and this is where, again, using that concealer line or using a white eye pencil or something light so you can still tell that there's hair there. Okay. Okay. All right. Now I am going to address the inner corner. I do have a little bit of growth underneath that when you have hair that's starting to grow too far down, or if you have a square downturned shape, it gives your face a really interesting look. It's a look. People can tell that you've groomed your brows that way, and sometimes it just kind of looks like it's this straight line that has gone from a corner and then it's just curved up, like if you drew it with a blunt chisel tip Sharpie, okay? That kind of thing. I recommend people don't go that way because nothing against witches, but it can kind of make you look a little bit witchy or bitchy. Just naturally, because your eyebrows don't end up sitting in a very neutral position when you don't have an expression on your face. It's like your eyebrows are constantly giving an expression to your face that you may not want. It can be really tough to talk to somebody about this, so I'm trying to be kind and gentle and tell you all that perhaps it's a good idea to look in some magazines, find somebody whose brows that you really, really like, and then put that picture next to your own face. Hopefully they have a similar face shape to you, but look at the shape of their brows. Even if it's that Instagram model brow that you love, okay, you're not gonna see it hooked down. It starts and they usually go straight across up to the arch and then a little bit down at the tail. That's kind of a classic brow shape that suits almost every face, okay? There's so many different ways you can go with your brows, okay? And it is a personal choice. And if you are a person who loves to dress up like a pinup model, right? And that is, it's a fantastic look, but remember, it is a look. So if you're tweezing your brows to that extent for the 1 or 2 days that you do cosplay and that you're dressed up like a pinup, you may want to actually think about blocking your brows instead, so that the other 363 or 62 days of the year, you have a neutral brow that just really frames your face, okay? Yeah. All right, off to the other side. I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so now you can have a look. I have tweezed both sides. And you want to aim for balance and evenness as opposed to perfect symmetry, okay? Everybody's face is slightly asymmetrical. Even if you have a face that is like, you know, your eyes are level, your ears are level, your nose is even, your lips are even, your brows may still be uneven as far as how they grow, so the thickness and how much hair there is. There's always one brow I feel that wants to groom better than the other, and I look at it and I'm like, oh, why can't you just be like that one? And I also, it's force of habit, I tend to tweeze my left eyebrow first, and I don't know why that is, but I kind of tweeze that one first and then I go for the other one, and you try and match them up. So it's not a question of having your brows being perfectly level above your eyes, because as you can see, this brow just naturally arches and curves a little bit more than on this side, okay? And also the way your facial expressions change, maybe one brow goes up higher than the other. So it's not trying to correct your face. if you wanted to do that, again, take a tip from the drag queens, block your brows out, baby, and start from scratch if you're really that concerned about it. Because personally, I think that your face is beautiful no matter how your brows are up or down on one side or the other. Just try and tweeze them so that they're even. You may notice that you have a little bit of redness, okay? Especially if it's been a while since you've touched your brows. And if you didn't have time to do your brows the day before you have a big event or something, all I suggest doing is taking a little bit of translucent powder or a little bit of light concealer and just apply it on your eyelid, okay? But just blend it down and go right up to where your brows are to take a little bit of that redness out. Okay, you can go slightly into the brow, but if you do that, make sure that you grab a spoolie or a comb so that your brows don't look like they're covered in concealer, because that's something you can visibly see right away if there's like beige on usually black hair, okay, or dark brown hair. I took a little cotton bud and all I did was I just kind of buffed around just in circles a little bit and just like that, very gently, to sort of take all of that, the line that I had. And I did actually do the other side as well, and I just did the same thing, and you can tell now. You can't see that there's really any concealer or that there was a pencil there or anything at all. Hot debate topic a lot is the top of your brows. I touch up the top of my brows maybe twice a year, if that. I don't have a lot of excess hair that grows up here, and I'm not trying to tweeze my brows to within an inch of their life because I like my brows. You know, I think that it's one of my loveliest features on my face, and I've had a makeup artist or two tell me that they really enjoy, you know, my brow shape and that I have a really good bone structure, and I was just kind of like, isn't that awesome? Especially when I have people who are like microblading specialists go, oh, you should come see us. We'll fix your brows. I'm like, honey, there's nothing wrong with my brows. And I've had more than one makeup artist tell me that. And also working in film and TV industry, doing something like microblading where you're essentially temporary tattooing your face, it's a look. It's like I talked about before, where if I just did brow corrector with nothing else on, imagine that. You're showing up on set on a no makeup day where you've had specific instructions and they've said no makeup. We want no makeup or very, very light foundation. They did not mention brows. They did not mention eyeshadow. They did not mention mascara. They talk about your base, and that's it, okay? If you show up and you've got like lash extensions or you've got your brows done, they might have to make your brows under. They might have to spend time trying to conceal that and make your brows look more natural. So for anybody who kind of is not in a very specific look category and you're working as an actor, it's never a good idea to get any kind of permanent makeup done because that might actually rule you out for a lot of jobs. And believe me, I've worked with enough actors who have shown up who pretty much got bitched out for showing up with lash extensions when the brief or the notes from the makeup department was no makeup, no mascara, and they show up and it usually doesn't go so well. So anyhow, just keeping that in mind, right? Microblading is something that's permanent. It works great, especially for people who don't have very full brows to begin with. And if you're not working in film and TV, who cares? Go get microbladed, fill your boots, get your brows tattooed on if you feel like that is going to make your life easier. I'm just coming from the perspective and sharing a few little insider tips about, you know, if this is something you're thinking about or if you're a model, it's giving your face a very distinct look. So you need to be aware of that some people don't want that. So thanks again for joining us for part 2 of Brows 101. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and like this video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know exactly when the next videos are going to be landing here on YouTube. For today on the Star Studio, this is SickMom checking out.